Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council Candidate Forum. I am your Chris Wallace for this evening. I thought that was really funny. Apparently not. He was not available. It's great to see a great turnout here with engaged citizens, all eager to participate in the democratic process and make our city even better. I want to thank the ZAC for hosting the event and for the MDA staff for coordinating this for all of us this evening. We've gathered here to engage with the mayoral candidates as well as the city council candidates wishing to serve in Missoula's 6 wards. This forum provides a unique opportunity for you, our MDA members, and our community to hear directly from these individuals and gain valuable insights into their visions of our beloved city of Missoula. It's an occasion to ask questions, understand their platforms, and ultimately make an informed decision when it's time to cast your vote. Also, tonight's presentation is being recorded by Missoula Community Access Television as part of a media assistance grant donated to the MDA by MCAT. So thank you. So my name is Bob Burns. I serve as the president of the Missoula Downtown Association Board of Directors. I also do some banking stuff across the street here in my spare time at Stockman Bank. So the Missoula Downtown Association, which I think many of you in this room know, is a membership-based business organization focused on promoting, supporting, and enhancing the vitality of downtown Missoula. With more than 500 members, MDA is a vibrant and dynamic nonprofit organization focused on enhancing the heart of our city and connecting our community. All are welcome to join. Okay, a little bit about the format. As I said, it's a privilege to be part of this important event this evening. We've organized today's event to provide you with the opportunity to hear from our candidates, as well as to engage them in thoughtful dialogue. So the forum will be as follows. We'll have opening remarks, which will be 1 minute each. It seems very short, but we'll go with that. Each candidate will introduce themselves and provide a 1 minute brief on why they are running for public office. We'll have general questions from the MDA. We'll pose a couple questions to the candidates related to the heart of our city, giving each candidate 90 seconds to respond. These questions are designed to provide a deeper insight on their relationship with downtown Missoula. Then we'll have audience questions. That's where you come in. We'll turn it over to our audience. Please be brief, focused on your specific questions for your ward candidates, and please avoid extended comments. Dialogue to ensure we get as many questions out there as possible. So specific candidates that are asked the questions will have 90 seconds to respond. And then closing statements, to wrap it up, each candidate will once again have 2 minutes to summarize their key points and aspirations for our city. So without further ado, let's begin with the opening remarks from our mayoral and ward candidates. We look forward to a fruitful and engaging evening as we collectively shape the future of Missoula. So let's move on to introductions. Please stand. I think they've given you instructions on the microphone. Introduce yourself and offer a brief 1-sentence statement on why you want to serve as an elected official. And please hold your applause until everyone is done. Mayoral candidates. Mike Nugent.
I am Mike Nugent. I am running for mayor. I currently serve on city council. And if anybody has been to it feels like hundreds of forums Andrea and I have done, you know that I can't speak in 1 sentence. But neither can she, so I think we're good there. I am honored to be here, but I really want to take this minute to encourage you all to really don't be afraid to focus your questions on the city council candidates tonight. Andrea and I have several more opportunities. No, I'm being serious. Several more opportunities where it's just the two of us in a forum. And I think people serving on city council are very important, and those positions go underappreciated sometimes, and they're very low. People don't know a lot about our candidates, so don't be afraid to ask good questions, because the city council is the policy-making body for the city of Missoula, and that's where a lot of good stuff happens. So I'll defer.
That was a good council
Andrea
move.
Davis.
Thank you, Bob. All right, I'm watching my timekeeper. Hi, everybody. Andrea Davis, mayoral candidate for Missoula. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking time on a gorgeous, sunny afternoon. Thank you to the ZAC for hosting, and of course the Missoula Downtown Association. I know many of you, but some I don't. And I currently serve as the executive director of Homeward. We are a community housing development organization headquartered in Missoula. We do work statewide, so for the last 15 years, I've led that organization in building homes that Montanans can afford. And we're also a housing counseling agency, so we teach first-time homebuyer education and provide financial literacy education. And I'm running for mayor because I believe that good governance is something that doesn't just happen. It's something that takes collective energy and will, and it's something that I believe in, that I bring a lot of experience to the table, and as far as listening to different voices, coming up with different decisions, and decisions that I may not make on my own. And because we are where we are in our community right now, it feels very important to take that responsibility and carry it forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ward 1, Eric Melson.
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Melson. I just want to say thanks to the Downtown Association and also to the partnership for hosting, also to the ZAC and to all the candidates up here. I'm running for my first term as City Council in Ward 1, which is the Rattlesnake, North Side, the heart of Missoula, and also the Canyon River Golf Course area. I'm motivated to run because I love this place. I've benefited tremendously from living in Missoula, and I really just want to give back to the community that's given me so much. I'm also really interested in learning about how local government can be a force for good in people's lives. I live in the Rattlesnake neighborhood with my wife that works at the university and our old geriatric black lab. I work in nonprofit administration. I work for an organization called Public Land Solutions, and we do redevelopment work with western rural communities that are looking to diversify their economic portfolio, move away from extractive industries, and add outdoor recreation as a form of economic development. Thanks again for having me. Look forward to answering some questions.
Thank you. Ward 1, Gwen Nicholson.
Namnat Pesaya. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Gwen Nicholson. I was born and raised in Missoula. I'm Salish and Kootenai and Shitsamish and enrolled in the Coeur d'Alene Tribe of Indians. I work for the Montana Budget and Policy Center as the Associate Communications Director. And I'm running because, like I said, I've been born and raised in Missoula, and I've seen a lot of changes come to this city over the past few decades. But for me, this has always been a place where I've been able to find home, and I've always been able to find a community that is incredibly welcoming and accepting, even among, I think, times of great division and times of great strife. I think Missoula is always so strong as a place where people can come together and bring ideas forward and bring community forward. And I want to make sure that we're continuing to build a city that can foster and sustain that kind of development and that kind of forward progressive movement. So we're looking forward to working with everybody here. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Ward 2 has 2 open positions, 2 running for a 4-year term and 2 running for a 2-year term vacated by Jordan Hess when he was appointed mayor. First up, Mirtha Becerra. Hope I got that right.
Mirtha, yes.
Mirtha, sorry.
Close.
Really close.
Thank you. Really, almost.
I'm Bob.
It's got the easy name. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to the partnership for hosting and to all of you for taking the time to be here. I was born and raised in Chile. It's a country with a long history of dictatorships and political issues, and that has instilled in me the appreciation of democracy and representing your values and your constituents' values in any type of government. So Ward 2 is the best ward in Missoula. It's the fastest growing, but also one that has a very historical portion of Missoula neighborhood. I believe we are at a critical time in Missoula in terms of growth and development, and I think there's a lot of work to be done. I believe my professional experience and my years on council have me well prepared to tackle those really challenging issues. Look at that, I even spared time.
You did good, Mirtha. It was the only one I was going to have trouble with. I knew that. Rebecca Dawson.
Just like everyone said, thank you all for hosting and organizing and participating, and it means a lot to have everyone here and interested in what's happening in our local government. I am Rebecca Dawson. I am a native of Western Montana. I actually grew up in the Bitterroot, and I am running mostly because I'm tired of my property taxes going up, and so I wanted to see if getting in there and seeing the inner workings and seeing how we can prioritize needs over wants and balance things out and, you know, not be frivolous with everyone's money. That was my main purpose in running. We've got a lot of struggles, a lot of things that are happening in Missoula with our fast growth, and I think we need a lot of different perspectives to maneuver through that efficiently. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sierra Farmer.
It was a little awkward to stand here, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm Sierra Farmer. I am running for the other Ward 2 seat. So I filled the seat when Jordan Hess vacated it, so I've been on for almost a year now. And not only is Ward 2 the best ward, but I think that the west side is the good hood, and that's where I live and have grown up. I was born and raised in Missoula County, and I work at the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation as my day job. And I also recently got my master's in public administration, so you could say I'm a little bit of a nerd. I definitely am used to being in the behind the scenes doing the policy work. And I am running because I do, you know, similar to what Gwen said, I love Missoula. I grew up here, and it's always been an amazing place to grow up, and I want it to stay that way. I want it to continue being a place for my children and future generations to be able to live and succeed and feel welcome, and I hope to continue doing that on council for the next 2 years.
Thank you. Timothy Garrison.
I'm Timothy Garrison. I'm running for Ward 2 City Council for the 2-year term. I'm a retired Marine. I served 28 years in the Marine Corps, served my country, and I now serve on the neighborhood committee leadership team. I served last year as the chair of that team, and service on these jobs and these volunteer positions are just an extension of my service to country now that I'm serving my own community. I also volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America and the Girl Scouts of the USA, and I give my time back to the youth whenever I can there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ward 3, Gwen Jones.
Test. Okay, here we go. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gwen Jones. I am an attorney. I was born and raised in Missoula, and I've been on city council since 2016. I'm finishing up my second term. When I first ran for council in 2015, I said I wanted to be on council because I thought our city was really well run, and I wanted to be part of that, and I also was really focused on the water acquisition. So it's 8 years later, and now I'm running because I've spent the last 8 years learning about all that the city does, how it all works, and creating great relationships with lots of folks that work for the city. And I see the challenges that are in front of us and want to be part of that because I think we've laid a really good foundation, but we have a lot of work to do. So I'm running to take that time to lean in and get Missoula to the next best place. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam Kulla.
Hey everybody, I'm Sam Kulla, running for Missoula City Council Ward 3. First of all, thanks to the ZAC and everybody for putting this together, but also to all you for showing up. It means a lot that people care what we have to say here and that you want to get involved. I grew up in Missoula. I was born in St. Regis, moved here when I was 5, went to Missoula County Public Schools, the U of M, the whole package. I see a classmate of mine from Hellgate High School right there, Josh Eater. Hey man. I'm running for city council because I grew up in a family full of public servants, and my extended family as well all worked for different levels of government. My dad worked for the Forest Service. My mom was a teacher for a bunch of different school districts in her career. I see it as kind of a duty to do public service on some level if you're able and you think you can pull it off. And so I want to give back to a lot of folks because I've spent so much of my time working different jobs, traveling, really learning about the world, everything from years working in alternative wind energy to now I work with International Private Online School, and I'm also engaged with NASA National Science Foundation funded ocean and climate research, and I just want to make Missoula better for all of us. Fresh ideas. It's time.
Thank you. Ward 4, Alan Ault.
Hello, everybody. Boy, that's good. I want to thank Zach and the MDA, and I want to thank everybody for being here. And look at this stage. What a bunch of talent. Anyway, I've lived in Missoula now 25 years. We own a small business. One of my claims to fame here is I started Montana Auto Tech about 15 years ago, and what we did, our mission was to bring automotive mechanics back in the high school. We did that. Go to Sentinel High School, and when you look in the back, you'll see a bunch of cars and kids and girls. One of our teachers is one of our ex-students. Her name is Leah. Anyway, I'm running because with my business, I'm a retired businessman, my business background, I've run projects, $500,000 projects with the deadline, certain goals in mind. And I can bring things like that to city council. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber Sherrill.
This is kind of awkward with my back to you guys. I'm Amber Sherrill. I am the current ward representative for Ward 4 for City Council. I am on the Missoula Economic Partnership Board. I served on the Health Board for the last 4 years during COVID, which was not what I expected the Health Board to be when I got on it, but it was a really good learning experience. I'm the Climate Conservation and Parks Chair, and I'm running again because I'm finally getting good at it. I think that it is really complicated, and I was talking to a constituent earlier today, and we were talking about taxes, and I said, what I know is that I didn't know anything when I got on. I was wrong about a lot of things. So I have learned a lot. I feel like experience does matter, and I think that I'm excited to actually be at a point that I feel like I can bring more to the city. And I think I want to thank everyone and all of these candidates because I think it's amazing. I think everyone here is running because they care about Missoula, and whether we agree or disagree, I think that's great. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ward 5, Bob Campbell.
Oh, there it is. More slack in that line? Jeez. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Campbell, running for City Council in Ward 5. It's an open seat. I'm endorsed by Alcoa Councilman John Contos for the seat. Just really quick on my background. I have 32 years of public service altogether, both city and county, on top of 21 years with the Army Reserve and National Guard. Got out in 06 as a sergeant first class. But I did 5 years of land use planning, both in Southern California and Gallatin County. And then I decided on a career change going into law enforcement. In '99, I came to the city of Missoula, and I did a 23-year career, retiring as a sergeant last December. So the reason I'm running for council is just a culmination of 32 years of experience in the public sector, both city and county. I think I have something to offer, and I think we're going to have some tough discussions coming up on council, especially the next fiscal year budget coming up. We need to prioritize our budget, taking account of the services that I think we can all agree upon that we need as a community, and have some tough discussions about some other things that we may or may not find of value. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lynn-Wood Fields.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn-Wood Fields, and yes, Lynn-Wood is my first name. And I just want to say what a testament to have all of you here on a beautiful sunny day. I have a good friend who's running for city council in Lewistown, and I asked, how is all that going? She said, we don't do anything. We put our name on there, and then they come and vote. And I was like, well, Missoula likes to be engaged. So it's wonderful. And I am originally from Whitefish, Montana. That's where I grew up, in a family also of service. I think it's a Montana trait that we believe that we should be of service. and I am running in Ward 5 with my friend Bob Campbell. And one of the reasons I'm running is that I've spent a lot of time around the kitchen talking about politics. And finally, I looked at my 2 kids and I thought, you know, it's probably time to get in the arena. It's not always just important to talk, but it's also important to act. And I think everybody on this stage feels that way too. And I'm just so proud to live in a community that is really focused on solution. And I want to get on city council because I want to use my storytelling ability as a filmmaker to see the vision of where Montana and Missoula are going. So I look forward to representing Ward 5. Thanks.
Thank you. Ward 6, Sean McCoy.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Sean McCoy, and I am running for City Council in Ward 6. I also want to thank the MDA and the ZAC for hosting and everybody for showing up. It's outstanding to see everybody here. Some of you may recognize me from my farm. I live in the River Road neighborhood. I run Frank's Little Farm with my family, my partner, and we have 2 kids. And I am running for council because I've spent my entire life serving my community. That started with my time in the military and extended into fighting wildland fire as smoke jumper, and then into activism in college, and then into farming, and farming being the humblest opportunity I've had to serve my community. And now I think I have some of those skills that I can bring to City Council. After being the planning board for 3 years and the chair for the last year, I can see where communication and leadership skills are going to be very valuable coming to the City Council. So that's what I feel like I have to bring to the table. Thanks for everybody being here.
Thank you. Sandra Vasecka?
Vasecka. I was like, that's not going to be the only one you pronounce. I married into it.
I knew that would be the hardest part.
He owns a wonderful farm. His strawberries, don't tell anybody, are the best that I've ever had. I'm Sandra Vasecka. I am currently my 4th year of City Council. I'm running for re-election because, as previous people have said, it takes a while to get your feet out from underneath you, because it is a fire hose, and this has been an unprecedented 4 years with a lot going on, a lot of major change. So I think that consistency is key with this change. But a little bit about me is I am married. I have a 2-year-old toddler. I graduated from Sentinel. I met my husband from Hellgate at a bonfire, and I did go to Bozeman because I already planned on going there to follow my brother, but I moved back because, unfortunately, when you fall in love, you got to move back and be in love. My husband owns a small business, and we are very family-oriented, but they have really pushed me when I first thought that, hey, I think that I can make some change because I really care about where our tax dollars go, and I think that a lot of our wants versus our needs are wants, and I know that people are getting taxed out of their homes, and I am taking a huge effort on to try to fix that, and that shows in the budget hearing in August. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for all of your interest and willingness to serve the Missoula community in your respective wards. So let's give them a round of applause if we could. Okay, now moving on to the second phase of the evening, and that is the general downtown questions. So we're going to turn our focus to downtown Missoula, the heartbeat of our city. We have 2 questions that I will pose together and give each of you the opportunity to answer both questions at the same time. Again, you have 90 seconds to respond. The first question: how do you engage in and around downtown Missoula? And 2, as an elected official, what is the most important thing you will do to support the downtown Missoula economy? So those are your 2 questions. You can ponder those for a moment. I'm not going to introduce you each by name, but we will just go in order, and we will go the opposite way that we started. Sorry to put you on the spot.
What was the second question?
As an elected official, what is the most important thing you will do to support the downtown Missoula economy?
So my experience downtown has been a little frustrating. My husband, when he found out that this was a downtown forum, he explained to me how those parking meters are the reason why he never comes downtown anymore, and a lot of our friends don't either. And I can understand that because it is complicated, and especially if you don't remember to take a picture of your license plates, and you get up to the meter, or you just want to quickly just pop in like a dime to just run into FedEx real quick and mail a package. So times have really changed, and especially for our older community, things have been incredibly frustrating, and especially with the homeless issue. I mean, it's out there right now, and so something has to change. And it's a little segue right there. I do have a resource list for folks that are experiencing homeless or have issues with that, and please come up to me afterwards, and I have a list of people that you can call to help out with that, or to, if you are having issues with the problems, then please let me know. I'd be happy to guide you in the right area. So another thing that I would like to address in how I will help downtown is that I believe that my colleagues and I disagree on a lot of stuff. I don't know if that's known to a lot of you, but downtown used to be the thrivant area of our community, but times have changed. I am one of the youngest people on council. Daniel beat me when he got elected. I used to be the youngest. And we need to adapt to what our younger population likes, as well as holding on to what our older population likes. So we need to make it, I guess my time's up. I'll answer this in my closing.
Thank you.
It's a big question for 90 seconds. So my biggest engagement downtown is probably the farmers market. It's the most consistent and constant thing that you'll see me at downtown. Otherwise, it's patronizing businesses, and then going to planning board meetings or meetings downtown. Boy, I don't know if this is the right place for my biggest idea to help downtown. I have been kicking around and presenting to people kind of slowly the idea of moving the farmers markets together into a centralized location downtown. And to me, as a vendor, I see that opening up parking and bringing foot traffic going from the outside into the center. And that is one of my ideas to help downtown. I think that would be a huge boon, not only for our downtown businesses, but also for our farmers and our vendors at those markets. So I don't know if I was ready to present that on today, but that is easily my biggest idea. I did get a chance to talk to Mayor Engen about this idea, which he was welcoming to, and then COVID hit. So it's been kind of on the back burners for a little while. I think I'll just leave it at that.
All right, what a great question. One of the biggest reasons I ran is on economics, and in 2018 I got invited to work for legislation on what's known as the Media Act. And the Media Act is the Montana Economic Development Industry Advancement Act. I worked with legislation for over 8 years, and the success of that act brought in $85 million to local businesses in Montana, and specifically Missoula and Bitterroot. I think as City Council, we are very much obligated to set the tone of how we're going to promote our area. We are lucky in Missoula. This is not an area that people don't know about it. People are coming from all over to go to our music venues. They're going to our very well-known farmers market. I do not think that we have a place that isn't impressive. What I think we need to do is capitalize more on that to help Missoula in general. I am from Whitefish, and we brought this up. I know everybody's talked about this, but the City Council in Whitefish actually is the reason we have a tourist tax in Whitefish, which has brought in $45 million. They're now holding 10% aside of that for affordable housing. That's only 2 lines in the bill that need to be changed in the ordinance, and that basically is a population and how you actually tax resort money. I think with Missoula now, we need to be taxing all the people that are coming here for events, coming here for music. We're basically subsidizing that, where we could use that money to actually promote our downtown area and promote all the people that are coming through here to help our economy. So on City Council, I would work as a coordinated effort between the people in our community, state legislators, and Missoula really represents people from all over the state, and so we need to work together to make that change. Thanks.
Thank you. So to engage downtown, especially business and industry in general, I mean, that's the heartbeat of Missoula, right? I mean, it's what generates our GDP, if you will, for Missoula. So I think on City Council, we have a role to always bear in mind that fact. And I think going forward, as far as engagement, certainly, downtown activities is a great place to start. Getting involved with Missoula Downtown, getting involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and, I would look forward to that engagement. I think also, being mindful of our role on city council, we just have to be cognizant of, going out there and doing no harm. I mean, we want to be transparent, we want to be forthcoming, and, I've heard a lot of grumbling about, for instance, the downtown Higgins Street corridor plan, the build grant, and what's come on there. A lot of businesses feel they were blindsided by that. I think a lot of that just stems from lack of transparency from the get-go. I think we need early engagement, and we see that as an example. I think we see that with subdivision development review. I know we got one in Lower Miller Creek. A lot of folks feel the same way there, that there wasn't enough transparency from the get-go. So we want to make sure that city government does no harm. The other part I would say is just local option tax. I'm not against it. We just have to be careful. It's not the be-all, end-all, I would say. Whitefish has 16% reduction in their tourist tax last year, and they would have had to raise taxes if not for deferring some capital improvement projects to get them so they didn't have to raise taxes, which is a great, it's a great example of fiscal responsibility in that regard. Thank you.
Did I turn? No, I thought I turned it off. So the way I engage with downtown is I walk downtown to city council meetings, and we go down there for dinner and everything else all of you go downtown for. But one thing that really struck me walking downtown so much and looking at the transportation plan that we've looked at through downtown is I stop in businesses every single time I walk down Higgins. I go to Fact and Fiction, I pick up a book, I go get a salad, I go into your shop. So, I mean, I think it's really important to have an accessible downtown. I think the Downtown Association has done an incredible job with that. On council, I will continue to support that. I will continue to support improvements for Karis Park. I think that is a great draw for our city. I know that you guys probably don't know that, but I've heard a lot of the rumblings around MRA, but MRA has had incredible investments for our downtown that have brought incredible tourism opportunities for our citizens, opportunities for businesses. So, I will continue to support downtown, and I'm looking forward to some of the other developments that are coming forward on it. So.
Okay, I'm Alan Ault, Ward 4. Now, Ward 4 is out there. Of course, it still goes through the University District. But what I hear is about the parking, and that's one of my concerns because I'm from the generation that, hey, I like to drive. And a lot of people out in Ward 4, they're elderly, they're not going to ride their bikes, or they're not going to take the bus. A lot of them drive, and parking is a big problem. With what they want to do with the Bear Tracks Bridge, so many people in Ward 4 that I talk to, they're against things like that. And I think one of the things, downtown is great. We have some great opportunities. The farmers market, out to lunch, a lot of people come in for that. But the circles I hang around with, people say, I'm not going down there, there's no place to park. Hey, go in the parking garage, things like that. Oh, didn't think about it. It's still, So we need to advertise more to get people wanting to come. I know a lot of people don't go to the Saturday market. It's getting bigger, which is great, and that's the good news. The bad news is a lot of the businesses around here, I don't really see how that helps them because a lot of them are closed on Saturdays. And I think there's something we could do there, give some incentive to be open, even Saturdays and Sundays when a lot of these people come down. So that's what I think. Thank you.
I'm going to hold my notes just to try to keep it together here because I got a lot to say. A couple of the things that I'd really like to see that we take care of to make sure that we can, one, first part of the question, engage in and around downtown Missoula and also support the downtown Missoula economy. Is first of all, we have to make sure that we've got good, realistic access for the people that live in Missoula to downtown. That comes in two forms. One, it's parking, and two, it's the human-powered access. So for parking, I have a pretty fresh idea. I'm going to go ahead and take the heat off you, share one of my big ideas, just like you, Sean. I have an idea for a parking sticker that would be voluntary. Maybe it's $200. Analysts will set the price to offset the lost revenue from the Luke machines. It'll be all right. And if you want to buy that sticker, then you don't have to use the Luke machines, and you can park anywhere downtown, and it's good for a year. We could also take some of the revenue from that sticker to put into other things that are super important and kind of parlay into the next part of access, is that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund could get some of that money. If we did that, right, we'd be solving a little bit of the housing problem too, which would help keep service workers here to run the downtown businesses that we need to enjoy downtown. I used to go do ski seasons in Aspen, Colorado, and I lived in, Pitkin County low-income seasonal housing, and it was 45-minute bus ride out of town for low-income service worker housing. I don't want to see Missoula turn into a bedroom community for the wealthy out-of-staters to the point that we don't even have the people who run the town living here with us. So that's one of my biggest things. On top of that, we got to have better bike lanes, better pedestrian access, and better bus service, better all of the stuff that gets people into downtown so they can enjoy it. Thank you.
Thanks. Great questions. I guess I would start off by saying, how do I engage with downtown? Is I walk, I bike, and I drive downtown all the time, typically every day, because I'm always coming down for city council meetings and events, all sorts of stuff. And I'm eating, shopping, and getting lots of coffee downtown. So I'm constantly, and I just love our downtown. I loved it growing up. I loved walking by the old Merc, life changes. We're in a new place now, but I love our downtown. So I am there a lot. As an elected official, I think one of the most impactful things I can do is to support the government funding and programs that support the downtown. So our investment in the Missoula Economic Partnership is strategic and crucial, and we got to keep the MEP strong because it is the engine that brings in companies and businesses and economic vitality to our city. MRA is a huge program that is wonderful for our city. We have 7 acres with the Riverfront Triangle. We have an entire city block, the Payne block, to be developed. How we develop those will have a huge impact on our city in the long run in terms of economic development, and if we are smart and take our MRA dollars and help leverage that into the most impactful thing possible, that's going to set our trajectory for Missoula. And then finally, I would add, I agree, access is huge. I was happy to be part of many conversations about the fact that we need bike lanes getting downtown on the hip strip. And I'm so happy it's coming to fruition. And I'm going to turn it over to Timothy. You got yours.
So how do I engage downtown? As mentioned before, I am with the North Side, West Side community, and the West Side borders right up against the downtown, right at the low spur of the railroad track, the old track there. And so we are neighbors, we're right here, and with most of us no matter what neighborhood you're in or what ward you're in, you do a lot of travel throughout Missoula. I also volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America, and I'm the Cub Master all the way up in the Rattlesnake, and we meet downtown at the First United Methodist Church. They give us the opportunity to meet there. So we have our Cub Scouts down there at the First United Methodist Church. We're right here in the downtown also. We were here for the parade. We will be here on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month for the Veterans Day ceremony right across the street back here at the Doughboy statue. We bring scouts down here all the time, and we keep the scouts actively engaged in the entire city of Missoula. Additionally, my wife, retired Navy nurse, doctor of nursing practice, she is the scout master for the female troop, the only female troop in Missoula for Boy Scouts of America, and she also meets down here at the First United Methodist Church. So we are always over here or through the neighborhood committees with the city committee forum, and so that's how we engage, but that's also how we add back or give back to the economy, is because we have a presence here as well. We have a presence throughout the city. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Like Timothy said, I'm in the west side. It does sometimes feel like a little bit of an extension of downtown, and I'm downtown very frequently, and I love downtown. I think everyone does. I think it's something that draws us here. But it's thriving and it's doing amazing right now, but it wasn't always that way. I remember hearing from the owner of Hide and Soul that in the 70s it was really risky to open a store downtown because everyone was going to the mall. And to the MDA's credit and to the MRA's credit, they continued to put resources into downtown to make it thriving. And so I think as a city council representative, our job is to set good policy that will continue to make downtown thriving and also fund the resources that will make it thriving. And that's how I think our role really plays is key to that, to making sure that the MDA still has other businesses that they can support. And I think that that is really a big piece of why why we are here on City Council, is to make sure that we're funding the right things and setting the right policy to continue growing the downtown area so that we can all still enjoy it the way that we all love to enjoy it.
How do I engage downtown? Admittedly, not much. I hate the parking meters, so I do avoid downtown. I come down to the farmers market. My family will come down and go to dinner. We never miss a parade or the tree lighting, things like that, fun activities. But I don't do a lot downtown, mostly because of the lack of parking and the parking meters. So that's something I'd like to see City Council take a look at. Is there a way we can fix the parking situation? I love the idea of a parking pass, so then I don't have to fight with a parking meter. So that is something I would love to explore in how we can make that work. As far as helping or maintaining downtown, I think engaging with the businesses that are down here. What do they need? What do they want? Those are two very different things. And how do we make that work with the rest of Missoula, within our budgetary restraints, within code, within all the guidelines that are there, but actually making sure that they are invited to committee meetings to make sure that the voices are heard of the people that are keeping Missoula thriving. And if those businesses close, then nobody comes downtown. So we need to engage all the way around with that. So, thank you.
Okay. You all know there's an app for the parking, right? Okay. There's an app for that. As I mentioned, I'm not from here. You can probably tell by the accent too. But I have lived in Missoula for 20 years, and I have seen downtown change quite a bit. As a single young planner for the city of Missoula, I used to work downtown. I also lived in the west side for about 12 years. So I went to the bars, I went to the farmer's market, I went to many restaurants. When I got married and I had kids, took my kids to Dragon's Hollow and the library and all these different places that kids like to go to. So I think that's how I engage with downtown. It's been a huge part of my life here in Missoula. And the way I see continuing my work on City Council and helping downtown is by ensuring that downtown works for all. So I think that having communication with business owners, building owners, with customers, with anyone who uses downtown is key to make downtown work for everyone. Downtown is an equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have. It's where we can all come together, and it's a place that really needs to work for everyone. So I'm open to the conversation on how we make that happen in the future. Thanks.
So downtown is really close to my heart. I think one or two people in this room know that I'm also a musician. I am really heavily embedded in the arts community here in Missoula, which is centered around downtown. And also I have a lot of friends who operate small businesses in the downtown area. So downtown to me is kind of like the core of Missoula's identity. And I think in order to sustain that network of small businesses that forms that heart, what you really need are a strong labor pool and a steady base of local consumers, you know? So to me, the way to kind of foster and sustain and develop that is to invest in protections for renters and tenants, because I think that's who makes up the core of a lot of those local consumers and also those local laborers. So in my mind, I think using Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars and TIF dollars to get creative with the ways in which we're affording protections and opportunities to renters and tenants is really going to be critical over the next 10 years of development. Doing things like we've had success here in Ward 1 with developing community land trusts and co-ops, you know, building alternative paths for people to build equity in the housing that they live in. Investing in things like a universal renter's application fee, revitalizing older properties along with developing new properties that are truly affordable and not just affordable in name only. I think if we can build up that core of workers and local consumers, we're going to see a lot of revitalization in downtown. Thank you.
Man, it's hard to go last, or not last. I engage in Missoula's downtown in all kinds of ways, I'm sure a lot of which you guys do as well. I am a big bike commuter. I also really enjoy walking around town, so parking is not that big of an issue for me. I actually think that parking is pretty accessible for folks. And I really appreciate the mobility and being able to connect from my house in the Rattlesnake via pathways into downtown Missoula so that I can grab a salad or go see a concert or go to the library and volunteer as a DJ, which I do. So I spend quite a bit of time downtown. I've had multiple offices downtown. I agree with a lot of what's been said about the vitality and the importance of our downtown. I am so excited that I'm the only person that has mentioned the RISE grant that we just got, which is $25 million from the feds that will go to support safety, accessibility, and mobility improvements for downtown specifically. Downtown has grown a lot over the last. We've seen a lot of new hotels pop up, and our infrastructure hasn't kept up with that development. We need to revitalize some of the streets and look at how to move people around more efficiently. How can we incentivize people to not drive and park, but how can we get people downtown with public transit? How can we get people supporting these businesses that we all love in ways that are easier for them, that both benefit the business and is a more enjoyable experience for us as locals and for the folks that want to come here and patronize our businesses and go to those concerts and maybe listen to my radio show. Who knows? All right.
Thanks, Eric. I'm going to come out to your show. All right, so personally, I come downtown all modes. I come by bike. I love to take the trail from my home in the Franklin to Fort neighborhood. I bike into town. But I drove today, and I parked in the parking garage. And there was a parking spot for me, and it was quite convenient, and I appreciate that. I love to eat and watch music and shop downtown, go to the farmer's market, all the stuff. There's so much that downtown has to offer. Professionally, I worked downtown for about 7 or 8 years before I built the Solstice and Equinox campus on the corner of Russell and Broadway with Homeward. And then we own the Lenox Flats. Homeward redeveloped that property about 20 years ago. It's on the corner of West Broadway and Woody. And so I understand some of the challenges that downtown businesses face. We're also members of the Business Improvement District. And so as an elected official, I feel it's very important to be meeting on a regular and routine basis with businesses and folks that are doing business and own property in downtown Missoula. I've done quite a bit of that throughout this campaign, and I've heard quite a bit of perspective. Eric raised the RISE grant, and there's great opportunity in front of us. And there are folks that have felt like they did not get their concerns maybe heard, and so that is, I believe, a very important job for the mayor is to make sure we're building those relationships and translating that to our staff. Additionally, as an elected official, working alongside the other agencies, Missoula Redevelopment Agency, the Missoula Downtown Association, Missoula Urban Transportation District, hearing from our constituents, making sure that we are working with the other organizations that really have the opportunity to benefit downtown is the way I see the mayor's job. Thanks.
You know, the Time's Up card is a lot nicer here than some of the forums. We've had cowbells and all sorts of other things. You know, engagement downtown has been something that's been part of my whole life. When I was a kid growing up in going to public schools in Missoula, we raised pennies for ponies, and you would bring in pennies to class and you would collect them. And there were 4 horses on a carousel that were paid for by local elementary school students. And that kind of started to come full circle because I actually worked at the carousel when I was in high school and the beginning of college. And I got so good at jumping off that platform that I could do it backwards. I think now I'd probably break my neck. But now when I come downtown to things like Clark Fork Market, I can't not take my daughter to the carousel because she feels so strongly that that's part of what you do when you go downtown. So there's engagement, but it's important to recognize that it didn't happen by accident. So much of what is downtown happened because people had an idea. They lived in a community where we embraced that, and we said, how can we do this together? And I think that really kind of encompasses all of what downtown is. Everything that we talked about, the RAISE grant, making sure that we're engaging with businesses and understanding what their needs are, looking at the opportunities we have with the pain block and the Riverfront Triangle, housing and the ability to live downtown is a huge part of a thriving downtown. It meets up with our growth policy in Missoula, and that is something you will get from me as a commitment when I'm mayor, is to work to implement those things in a way that it makes it accessible for everybody. Perfect.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of your thoughtful insights and some really good ideas, I think, come out of that. And that's where ideas start, certainly. So now it's time for the audience question. This is where all of you engage in the evening. Please raise your hand. And Hannah Reese here, our membership director and today's event coordinator, she'll bring the microphone to you. Introduce yourself, be specific, concise, and direct your question to specific candidates. Again, candidates have 90 seconds to respond.
Hi, thank you. My name is Brendan Campbell. I was born and raised here in Missoula, Montana. Went to Elgate, also went to Target Range. And my question is for the mayors, or the candidates, that is. And I'm really curious, you guys have had a lot of opportunity to talk about policy. I know you've worked a lot talking about policy. And I'm just really curious how you see the soft power role of the mayor, and how you plan to kind of influence culture in Missoula, sort of outside of policy. Some of the things that you bring in terms of, the role that you see the mayor can fill outside of just working inside the city council. And that's for both of y'all.
You know, I actually think that that's a great question. I think the soft power of the mayor is almost more important. There's obviously the day-to-day responsibilities of overseeing the administration. As I mentioned earlier, council is the policymaking body, but the mayor has the power to convene and build those relationships and get the right people at the table for those ideas. Like, I'll go back to what I said in my answer previously about the carousel. That wasn't just something that happened overnight. That was somebody that had an idea, and they pitched it to somebody else, and they pitched it to somebody else, and then all of a sudden the right people were at the table to make that happen. And to me, more so than anybody else in the community, the mayor has the ability and I think the responsibility to try and recognize, hey, if you come in with an idea, maybe I'm not going to be the one to put that in motion. City government doesn't have unlimited funds, but I talked to this person last week who had a similar idea, and I can bring that person and you and maybe somebody at the Missoula College or maybe somebody with MEP together and figure out how we can work and do that. The other thing that I think is really important is we have a lot of challenges in Missoula, and they're challenges that are going to be solved by partners outside of government, public-private partnerships. We need to, when people come with ideas, not just push them away. We need to get better at kind of saying, how can we work together to help you make this happen? So not a city of no, but a city of how can I help?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Here to that. Absolutely. Very good question. The soft skills that I would bring to office are ones that I've brought to my leadership role as an executive at Homeward, and something that some of you have heard me say before, but something I'm very proud of is that I have created an organization that is highly desirable to come to work for. We are awarded as an employer of choice, and that is something that I believe is not only because of the tactical HR element that we have, the policies that we put in place, but because of the attitude and the approach and the positive leadership that I bring. And I do think that the mayor is just that. We are building relationships with everybody across the spectrum in Missoula, and we have a duty to listen, to take into consideration ideas and concerns that may not be ours, that we may not agree with, and make sure that we can put those put those together in a way that really shows that we have a collective vision of Missoula moving forward. There are some amazing opportunities and some amazing challenges that we have in front of us, and there are so many people that have approached me, and I know others here as well, with ideas for how they can help, and how I think we all know that the same minds that have either worked on a problem or have helped create the problem sometimes can't solve for that problem. And there are people that are ready and at the willing, and I am ready to listen to them and see how we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Bellabradic, Fulcrum Security, Missoula Local, Hellgate, University of Montana, all the fun stuff. So my question really is actually for Gwen Jones, because you've had greatest experience on the council. And one of the things we've dealt with recently is getting our city business license and paying for the background check. And for certain businesses that may either be redundant or unnecessary. So for example, I already went through an FBI fingerprinting background check when I became a security guard, and a second time when I started my security guard company. And so, doing it a third time seems a little redundant, and we think, for the businesses that require it, the state already has the licensing that does it. But for a lot of businesses that might be entirely unnecessary, is that something that the city council would look at reforming? Are there other under the table reforms like that where we just haven't really seen it?
I'll do my best to answer your question. So I don't know much about business licensing because I'm not in that department, and that is under the executive branch, the administration. But I can tell you that there are several factors at work. Part of it might be an obsolete system that does need an overhaul, or it might be a capacity issue. And capacity issues, if we want to have more capacity, we have to find more money to hire more people, which means more taxes. So there's always that equation at work. But if the issue is that we could be doing something better and it's obsolete, a lot of times great ideas come from constituents, and they reach out to their city councilor and they're like, hey, I had this experience, or I think we should do this. And that's where it starts. And then it's what does the city councilor do with it? So if this is under the executive branch and it's an administration function, I typically meet with the mayor on a weekly basis and talk about stuff. And I have a notebook and I have a list and I talk through it. And if it's just the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing and we need to address that, then that's a simple conversation. If it's, we really need more capacity or we need to overhaul stuff in that department, we need to have a bit more of a strategic plan. How are we going to do that in the long run? That's a long-ranging conversation, and it might impact the budget in the long run. Or sometimes councilors bring policy too, where they say we should be doing something this way instead of this way. So I don't have a specific answer to your business licensing question, but those are the routes that I would look at to try and figure out the next best steps.
Sam Redfern, Ward 5, our office for Montana Veterans Associations on Russell Street. And this question's for the mayoral candidates, but also applies to all city council candidates. First one is policy, second is more of your leadership style. What will you do to engage the nearly 12,500 veterans in Missoula County, half of those which are within the city, and their number one issue that they've expressed to our organization and other coalitions is housing? Secondly, what is your leadership or executive management style, and what is your favorite thing about the people of Missoula?
All right, I have the microphone. Awesome, great. Thank you for that question. Okay, so the first part is how to engage 12,500 veterans, and particularly with the issue of housing. Thank you for your service, and thank you for working with the veterans of our community. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. When I worked for the Missoula Housing Authority as the Director of Planning and Development, I partnered with the Poverillo Center. We partnered with the Poverillo Center. We built the Valor House. We had an opportunity through federal funding that Montana was prioritized, and we built that property, and it also has rental assistance, and it targets veterans that are homeless. And that was something that I learned a lot from working with local veterans organizations in terms of having their influence and direction really for the building of that property in terms of how it would relate to needs and desires of folks that have served our country, that are currently living unsheltered, and the vast perspectives amongst our veterans community. The other thing that I would say is that as the mayor, I would continue to make sure that our staff at the city are partnering with other agencies that are already working to facilitate like the Veterans VASH vouchers and ways that we can make sure that the existing resources that exist, I would like to see that be more available in the conventional market. Right now, in affordable properties, those vouchers are used, but they're often left on the table because we can't find enough affordable rents, and I'd like to see that change.
Thanks, I appreciate both those questions. The first part of your question, I think, starts with engagement. And I've had a lot of conversations over the last year during this campaign with people, including veterans, who feel a bit disenfranchised. They feel like the concerns they have coming back and living in a place like Missoula, maybe they aren't heard, maybe what their needs aren't being listened to. And I think that starts with building better relationships with the organizations that are helping, but also making sure that we're giving the opportunity to hear directly from veterans. And I know that not every veteran is going to want to talk about the issues in the same way, but I think that engagement opportunity is so important because much like a lot of other things in Missoula, making sure that people feel heard and they have the opportunity to feel listened to matters so much. I believe the second part of your question was leadership style and kind of management. You know, I run a statewide organization, a statewide business with nearly 300 employees, 18 offices across the state, and you'd be hard-pressed to find people who don't like working for me. And part of the reason is I'm a firm believer in getting the right people in the right spots on the bus and letting them drive it. And that means when you're in a position like the mayor, giving vision, but not being a micromanager, because you cannot micromanage a place like the city of Missoula. You cannot get too far into the weeds on a single issue, because every day you are dealing with things from housing to public safety to parks, roads, all maybe in the same morning. And it does not work to be a micromanager. You need to be someone who can delegate and kind of put people in the right position to succeed.
That was for City Council as well. Yes, again, I'm Timmothy Garrison from Ward 2. As far as the Veterans Committee, I meet with the Veterans Service Committee at the VFW every month, and we have representatives there from Senator Daines, from Senator Tester, from Representative Zinke, from his office, and we work with the Veterans Administration. They have representatives there, and we get together once a month and we meet as a team, and we find those issues. We have over 600 members, or 600 individuals in Missoula that are homeless, houseless. We have over 60 members that are veterans. So that's how we engage with it, but also my personality on leadership, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier with the mayors, is that soft leadership, those soft roles. It's not about the power you have, the authority you have. A lot of times you don't have the right answer, but you know the people, or you're engaged with the people, and you can refer somebody to somebody who might have that right answer. Working with the neighborhood community, I don't necessarily have power and authority to do a lot of things, but I can connect the neighbors that have issues with the resources they need to solve some of those issues. It's the same with the Veteran Service Committee. It's about being there. It's about being engaged. I may not have the answers. I may not be part of the solution, but being there, being present is more important sometimes. Thank you.
I wanted to answer that too. Sure. I think a lot of engaging the different groups that are out there, veterans in particular. Our city needs to make sure that our communication lines are open. We talk a lot about public-private partnership, but actually who's talking? Who's telling this private entity that this is available and vice versa? So I think that's something we really need to focus on in the city council, being the source of the source, making sure that the right people are being connected, but also making sure that there is a central point for communication to flow so that the people who are in a position to help someone in need know who to talk to get that person the help. So I think a lot of this boils down to open communication and being available and being willing to have the conversations even if you don't know the answer. But hey, I don't know that, but this person can probably help you, making sure that you can make the appropriate connections.
So I appreciate both mayoral candidates' answer around the veteran question, and I agree with both of them. I would say, being on council is different than being the mayor. We are not in the executive branch. I think as far as the leadership style and just qualities that it takes to be an effective council person is collaboration. We have to be able to work with each other. We have to be able to listen to each other. I think what I think my soft skill, I guess, is around that is I'm willing to listen to other sides. I think good ideas come from a lot of different places, even if I disagree. Sandy and I disagree a lot, we know that. But we are still willing to, I would say for both of us, we're still willing to work together on things if we come up with the same idea. So I think that's a really important piece of serving on council. And it is different than managing people because we're not managing anyone on council. And oh God, I forgot I had a time limit. So the other thing I would say, because I want to answer the question about Missoula, we moved to Missoula in 2000, and I was driving home one day, and I almost rear-ended someone because they just stopped because there was someone that looked like they might want to walk across the street. And I went home and I said to my husband, I'm like, what, is this Pleasantville? I don't know if you remember that movie, but I was like, these people are just so incredibly nice and respectful, and my time's up, but I think it's the people.
I too want to, sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want to add that first of all, thank you. I know your work in Missoula with our veterans, and I appreciate it. I think that collaboration is key, but also being willing to be educated on the specific needs of our veterans. And I think City Council has done a good job at listening what those specific needs are and addressing them by collaborating with, for example, the Poverello to create a place where they can be safe and have their very specific needs addressed. So collaboration is key, and always being willing to be educated on what those specific needs might be for our veterans in Missoula.
Excuse me there. Yeah, I would say that as counselors, we are generalists, and what that means is it's important to go to the people who really know a lot more about topics than we do. And I think there's people in this room that know a lot more about veterans housing than I do. But I do know that there are projects ongoing in Missoula, and then it's a question of when the city can lean in and provide support or financial support. That's when it comes to us. I know Tester has really worked on housing. I've been at events with him where I've specifically said, we are having a growing homeless population. How can you help us? And his position is he works on housing for vets because that's where he can be the most impactful. And the Clark Fork Inn, adjacent to the Poverello, is a great project when that ultimately comes to fruition, and however that will be for housing vets. So I look forward to figuring out how we can support that. There's a lot of hurdles to go over to get all of that done. And when that is done, then the vets who are on the top floor of the Poverello will move into the Clark Fork Inn, and that will ease up capacity in the Poverello. So it all helps everybody. So anytime something, I think it goes back to connecting those dots, and sometimes it's being in the right meeting at the right time, and you hear something, you're like, wait a minute, I know where we've got something, it's over here, and then you connect that, and it really helps for things to go forward.
I just want to say, I work with unhoused communities directly in my volunteer capacity, in my activist capacity. And something that I do find is that the unhoused community is not a monolith. There's a diversity of needs and specific community asks that they have within that community. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think those different viewpoints and those different needs from within that community need to be represented and addressed separately if we're going to address the problem holistically. So thank you for that. As for the leadership question, I was talking to a friend the other night who was speaking with a constituent who brought up a question to them. She said, I like Gwen on paper, but a concern that I have sometimes with younger candidates is that they have problems with compromise. Do you think Gwen is going to be able to compromise on things, especially when it really gets down to crunch time in terms of decision making? And something that they said really resonated with me, where they said, I think Gwen knows when to compromise and when not to compromise, and can identify those areas really well, which was a very flattering thing to say. People, I don't know, they think way higher of me than I think of myself, I guess. But I think it's true. I think a key part of leadership is identifying the areas in which you're going to hold ground, and identifying the areas in which you need to grow and learn. And I think especially in terms of city council, where like Gwen Jones was saying, sometimes it's more about listening than it is leading. So I just hope to bring that perspective to city council. Thank you.
Testing. I just wanted to quickly say that while government is very important to help our veterans, when I was working in the private sector, I still work in the private sector, but I don't work in insurance anymore. I worked for Farmers Union Insurance, and when COVID first started, a Farmers Union Insurance company came up with a COVID relief program for a nonprofit that you nominated. I nominated United States of Hope, that's Sam's firm, And I got $1,000 donated. And while that seems like a very minuscule amount, that went to so many great programs. And you can use the private sector as well as your government, I guess, your phone book, all of your contacts that you meet in the government, and just ask them to privately donate without taking taxpayer dollars to do that. I just wanted to remind folks about that. I don't have a foot in the fight. I'm not a veteran like my ward mate or like my opponent is, and like many folks in the audience are, and I really commend you for your service, and I could not do what you guys do, so thank you.
Alan Ault, Ward 4. Sam, Rockford, Illinois, remember that. I'm going to come back to that. There is a place in New Jersey, I heard about it, a county where they pretty much eradicated homeless, and they had a formula. So I think there's some examples out there we can learn from. And Rockford, Illinois specifically targeted the vets, and they used the same model that they used in New Jersey. And today, they have virtually 0 homeless vets in that. So my point is, we can learn from, there's a lot of answers out there, and part of it was the public-private sector. So that's good information.
Does anybody want to go before I jump? We're going to go, but go ahead.
I'll be really quick.
Please.
Thanks. So, you know, in terms of supporting our veteran population, thank you, Sam, for your service and for the question. I think, you know, a lot of folks have already said the main thing is that we have to find the nuanced approach of what sets veterans and veterans' needs apart from the crowd, because that's a really important segment of the population. Overall, when we start to look about people who have limitations on their income, that could be because they're retired or because they're, you know, had an experience serving in the military and can't work the same as they used to. Could be anything from disabilities to you name it, right? We have to make sure that we're giving special attention to those folks, make sure that not only they have a place to live, but they also have a way to engage with community. So one of the things I would want to look into would be something similar at the city level to the Wounded Warriors type project, where our stunning Parks Department, which has a lot of good funding and a lot of good people, could possibly look into programs that were tailored for vets so they could still get the social connections and get some of that good outdoors Missoula time that we all love about this place, and have that happen through city channels in addition to all the other places we can try to get that to. Thank you.
Okay, I think I can make this pretty quick and brief. As a veteran, thank you for that question. I'm going to be engaged with the veteran community as much as I possibly can. That's an easy one for me. I identify with that community, and it's easy for me to tap in. I also understand the struggles that many of them are dealing with. My dad was a veteran, grandfather was a veteran, so I have a long history of understanding what vets come up against. Leadership style, pretty straightforward. First and foremost, lead by example. First, you know, like just set the tone and the work ethic for people to follow. And then secondly, I think one of the biggest things that I bring to the table is the ability to collaborate and create coalitions and also foster communication, which I think is very, very important for the legislative branch. So not only will I do that with the veterans, but the Downtown Association. My engagement will be high, and I will be looking to create as much partnerships and coalitions and communication, because those seem to be the things that most of my constituents on the doors are saying, hey, we're not hearing from you guys enough. We want to know what you're doing. Disenfranchisement is real. So, and as far as the Missoula community, what do I think of? It's community. My community is amazing. I have some of the most lovely, wonderful people here in Missoula that support me, including all of the people that support my farm. Thanks.
I guess we're all answering, so I'll just jump in real quick. It's a great question. We all feel it. So I guess what I would say is that I come at it with housing. You also need workforce development, and I work for Accelerate Montana, which got a $6 million grant from the governor, and we do rapid training courses specifically around this question. We deal with Montana, we deal with veterans and indigenous populations. We've had incredible success in the last year and a half. I believe it does it with tech, industry, and I added film. I wiggled that in there, and media. But I will tell you, the veterans that do film, it's a perfect fit. So if you know anybody who's interested, because they're already mission-based, they already work together. So we had 50% indigenous and veterans graduate from our last class, and many of them have done very well. And having purpose and a good job is part of the solution too. And then last, how I work together. I don't think you can be on city council very effectively if you're not going to listen. And I'm humbled by the people who've already been on city council. I thank you for all your years. And I hope being on it that I get to learn from you and grow and work really hard together. And then lastly, I think the most important thing is that you actually are accountable to the constituents. And so part of my platform is making sure that I'm meeting on Zoom every month with my constituents so they can give me feedback and I can tell them why I voted. I also want to do in person because we really need to be talking to each other. Thanks.
Thank you. And my last but not least, I think so. Thanks, Sam, for the question. Good to see you. Thank you for your service, by the way. So I have veteran experience. Full disclosure, I have not served in a foreign war, so thank you for your service. I have 2 children, 2 sons that serve in the Army right now, active duty. But yes, I think, especially come from a law enforcement background and having been out there, especially dealing with our houseless population, people in crisis, always, make sure my officers that were under my supervision went the extra effort to make sure that veterans that are out there that are in crisis, that they had access to, the services that are available, be it mentorship services, be it dialogue with other veterans on the police department, particularly with our crisis intervention team that we have, as well as our mobile support teams that are out there dealing with people in crisis. So that's something I definitely want to sustain going forward if I'm on council. I'd say as far as my leadership style, the thing that comes to mind most of all to me is, I think it's been said in one way, shape, or form or another already, just the ability to keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind, realize that, despite my lived experience in local government for so many years, that I don't have the answers to everything. Obviously, I can't think of anybody that would say that, but just the ability to listen to what's being said, listen to subject matter experts that are out there far and above what I have in different areas, be it veteran services, be it housing, be it other areas, financial sectors, downtown business association, another great example, and just take all that in consideration. My time's up. Wow, that went fast.
Okay, I think I'm last and least. Okay, thanks for the question, and thank you for your service. Thank you all on the stage as well. I think that our veterans are a huge population that are often overlooked. I think the way that I would engage with our veteran population is similar how I would engage with all my constituents, by being willing to listen and being available. And I think that that is my leadership style, is that I want to get in the room with folks and listen to you. I'm not going to pretend to be the smartest person in the room. I'm going to listen to you and hear what your solutions are and put people together to try and solve those huge problems. So I think that that is something that I bring to the table, is that I'm not going to talk at you and tell you things that you already know. I'm going to listen to you. So thanks.
Okay. Chris Wallace would have never let that happen. Oh well. Okay, well, we're certainly grateful. We have excellent candidates running for office. That's clear this evening. And really appreciate your dedication to public service, and willingness to engage with our community is really commendable. So thank you again for being here. So it's now time for the closing statements. Again, please be brief. Summarize your key points and aspirations for our city in 2 minutes. And I neglected to recognize Amber, who's been wonderful here with our timer. We share the same birthday, I find, tonight. Libras are very punctual, so that's good. We're the right person for the job. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and start. Mike, if you don't mind, we'll go. You want to go council first? Okay. Sure.
All right. Well, I just want to say thanks again for everyone attending and for everyone up on stage. This has been an awesome night. I did not get to respond to the veterans question, and I just want to address that really quickly. I have quite a bit of family in the active service. My grandfather flew B-17s in World War II. I have many cousins that are abroad right now, but I don't have direct experience engaging with veterans. Is actually something that I'm very interested to learn more about, the individual efforts and partners that do support veterans. I can respond to your question about leadership style, and what I would say is that behavior that my dad modeled. He was like the classic Good Samaritan. Like, this guy would have conversations at the checkout line at grocery stores for 20 minutes just getting to know the guy bagging his groceries. And I feel like that was passed on to me. Like, I honestly believe that I can learn something from every single person on this planet. And that is the kind of mentality that I have in approaching city council. So having an open mind, really using empathy and compassion, understanding what the issues are, trying my hardest to find those solutions is something that I can commit to. If that's okay, I'd like to transition my closing arguments. So yeah, thanks again for being here. I think the secret is out about Missoula. I moved here in 2008, and half the businesses downtown had for rent or for sale signs on them. We've come a long way since then. And I think a lot of the issues that we've talked about, affordability, accessibility, are born out of the desirability of people wanting to move here and share what we have. And I think that that's a good thing. I want to envision a Missoula where we can meld the classic experience that we've all had here, the place that we know and love, with the influx of new people and the new ideas that are coming. I want to combine both of these forces with good planning, good fiscal management, and with sound leadership to take advantage of the changes that we're facing, the challenges that we're facing, to come out of this in a better and stronger version of ourselves. And I want to be a part of that. That's really exciting to me. That's fascinating to me. As I said in my opening statements, I think government is super interesting. I think it can be a force of good for people's lives. And I really want to understand how we can use local government to help you all, to help us as a community. So with that, I'll pass it on to Gwen.
Thank you, Eric. Eric mentioned his father. I also want to talk really quickly about my father. Growing up, he was just like Superman and Indiana Jones rolled into one for me. He brought our family to Missoula when he took a job with the city fire department. And in his capacity as a firefighter, he saved lives. He served the city incredibly well. He also became a union president. He rose through the ranks to become assistant city chief. And through him, I really saw the value and the necessity of serving this community, specifically this community. And I saw just how incredible this place can be when people come together and work towards a common good and serve selflessly. So I hope through my work, just in my day job, in my life as an activist, and through my work on city council, I can do just a fraction of the good that he did for this community. I also feel like I learned the value of this community when, over this last legislative session, I was working in Helena through my job at the Montana Budget and Policy Center, advocating for more progressive taxation, less regressive taxation, and also in my own personal capacity advocating against a lot of the anti-LGBTQ bills that were passing through the legislature. And to be honest with you, I experienced a lot of the worst of what Montana has to offer. I experienced a lot of racist and sexist abuse. I was really kind of taken aback. But when I came back to Missoula, I found a community that welcomed me with open arms. I found a community where I knew I had a home and I knew I had a base to where I could work on making Montana the inclusive place and the warm and lovely place that Missoula has always been for me. So that's also something I hope to do in my capacity as a city councilor, is just bring what I find is the best of Missoula to the rest of the state and the rest of the world. I love this city so much, and thank you.
Thank you. I have lived in Missoula for more than 20 years, and when I first moved here, Missoula welcomed me with open arms. I have worked as a land use and transportation planner for the city of Missoula for almost 10 years, and I have seen the change in Missoula. Committed to working with our community to ensure that our kids have a place to grow up and thrive in. Half of Missoulians are renters, and we have an aging population. We have a lot of really challenging issues before us, and I do think that having the experience and the expertise and the commitment to continuing to work with all Missoulians so that Missoula works for everyone who wants to be here is important to me. I think I owe it to this town because I got an opportunity to work and to live and to purchase a home. And I want to work to make sure that Missoulians who are here and are working hard, and moms who need to find a place for their kids to go to daycare, have a place to do just that and thrive here in Missoula. I believe that we are well positioned to receive significant federal funding. We need to work together as a community so that Missoula can take advantage of those federal dollars that are going to be coming our way, whether it's for infrastructure, for housing. We need to continue to collaborate. I think there are great minds in Missoula, committed constituents who, if we all get around the table, I'm sure we can come up with really good solutions. So that's what I bring to the table. That's what I want to continue to do. I take my role on City Council pretty seriously. I think it's an honor to represent my constituents, and I hope I continue to do that. Thanks.
Again, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out today and participating in this and the great questions. Missoula is just, we are such a unique place. We have a huge heart. We live really in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and we need to protect that. And so when I came up here and said I'm running because I'm tired of my property taxes up, I'm tired of watching our aging population move out because they literally can't afford to live here anymore. I have 3 children, 2 of which are adults, that I don't know how they're ever going to get started. I don't know how they're going to buy a home. It's just, we've got to control our spending. We've got to leave more money in everyday citizens' pockets, because guess what? When we do that, their charitable donations are going to go up, and the different organizations that can partner with our government to help improve Missoula are going to thrive and going to be able to provide more. So I think we need to have a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different voices on council, so that we can work together to find the best solutions to protect our little piece of heaven here. And so, again, thank you for your time, and have a great day.
Yeah, well, I won't be too repetitive, but thank you everyone for coming out. It's amazing to see how engaged everyone is. And that's something I've learned on this year in council is there's a lot of opinions, and people are yelling loudly at us, but they care, and that's really why they're so fired up. And so this year on council, I have learned so much, and I really want to continue that work for the next 2 years on council. I think that we have some really exciting opportunities right now in front of us. And I'm invested in this community. I grew up here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to raising my family here. I didn't just come here from a different city and want to change it into that city right away. I want to retain Missoula's character, and I think the way that we do that is really focusing on affordable housing. I think that no one in this room is going to disagree that it is becoming a dire need right now. It's so hard to see all my friends and family get priced out of this community. And so when I got on council, that was the #1 thing that I was really focused on, was how can we continue to make Missoula affordable? I think that there's some ways that we can do that with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And I think another thing that's really opened up my eyes lately being on council is the public safety factor. There are folks that don't feel safe in our community, and that is our responsibility on council, is to make sure that our first responders are being paid well, that they are able to respond, that they have enough people on staff that they can actually do their job. And so that is a piece of my platform that I take seriously, is the public safety aspects of our community and making sure that everyone feels safe, and everyone has a place to live, and that it is an affordable place to live. So thank you all for coming.
Again, Timmothy Garrison from Ward 2, and I'm a 5th-generation Montanan. My son lives down on Stevens Street, 6th generation, and he has twins, 2 years old, a boy and a girl, perfect family there for him. And, you know, the 7th-generation Montanan, he was living in Missoula. He's been here living on his own with his family for 10 years, but he was living in Missoula, got a cheaper rate on rent down in Lolo, moved to Lolo, property boom, sold the house he was living in, moved back to Missoula. He's also chasing that affordable housing like a lot of Missoulians are. We have 75,000 people plus in Missoula. We have roughly 32,000 properties in Missoula, and out of those, about 45% are homeowners living in those properties. And those homeowners are paying those taxes on their properties, and that is a burden to those homeowners. But for those other 17,000, those rentals, the homeowners or the property owners there are not necessarily going to pay those taxes. They're going to pass that down to those renters. Those renters are going to continue to have challenges with affordable rent, and so we need to try where we can to get the property taxes lower. The budget is set, it's reset every year, but the budget's set, and there's a certain amount of funds we need to run the city. But whenever you start giving tax cuts to other individuals or other entities, organizations, then you have to raise it somewhere, and that's where we're sitting right now. So we have to try to find that balance, rebalance that, so the property owners aren't taking so much of that burden. Additionally, we spoke earlier about the veteran population here in Montana, but it's more than the veteran population. It's the veterans' families, it's their parents, it's their children, their brothers and sisters. That population is so much greater than just the veterans themselves. And then, being in Ward 2 and looking out west, we look towards Reserve Street and the issues with traffic on Reserve Street. We look at the growth that's going both next to Burn Street Bistro, but also the growth that's going in Grant Creek, the growth that's going in the Captain John Mills, or sorry, time's up, sorry, thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. And to the gentleman in the back regarding business licenses, I'm a rule follower, so when the card went up, I was quiet, but we can talk afterwards to see if there's some specifics, okay? So I kind of went through all of the approaches, but also we can just deal with the problem. Anyway, in closing, I sit on the League of the Montana City, I sit on the board of the Montana League of Cities and Towns, which all of the cities and towns in Montana belong to that. And just last week, we had our convention in Helena. I sat through several different talks. They cover all sorts of fascinating topics. And I can tell you that in several of those, guess whose pilot project was highlighted as the way forward? Missoula. I really, truly believe that this town is the best run city in Montana. We're forward thinking, we're willing to try things, we're willing to move forward on things. And then after a while, the rest of Montana says, yeah, Missoula's crazy, but it's a good idea, let's try it. So we're leaders in the state. And I think that is because of several reasons. I think we have had really strong mayors for the last 30 years. And we have a strong mayor-weak council form of government, which is no insult to the council. It's just literally, that's what it's called. Meaning the mayor has a vision, the mayor drives this community. We have been lucky to have strong leaders, and I'm grateful for who we have running, because we have good people running for the right reasons. And I think it takes people in Missoula coming together, rolling up their shirt sleeves, sitting down, talking, creative, intelligent people who are willing to find the way forward and figure out how we're going to address our affordable housing, our climate issues, equity issues. I frame it differently. I call it tax reform, but it's a thing. We need to figure that out because it is crippling people. So that's what I do, and that's what I would like to do for another 4 years.
Got it. All right, so it's my final 2 minutes, so I'll try to keep it all on track. Thanks, Amber, for your time and everything. Just to sort of tie in the second part of Sam Redfern's question back there about my leadership style, real quick, I'll tell you my Myers-Briggs type is ENFP, if that means anything to you. Personally, I don't think it does. But the way that I like to lead is I listen for the answers from within. There's some things I know an awful lot about, and I might make a strong decision about those things. Most things I don't. But if you can find the answer from within your community, you can do a lot of good. I've been listening to a lot of people as I knock on doors who have a lot of these same concerns and issues, everything from, housing to property taxes to responsive government, and a lot of people have ideas for how they would like to see those things fixed. One of the coolest ideas that I've heard floating around is that if and when we do use TIF money to build really nice housing projects or affordable housing projects or whatever, maybe looking into ways that we can take some of the revenue from those projects and put it back into the places where we need things, like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Once again, just keep hammering on that. A lot of these issues, right, they're very complex, and it takes just such a long time to even wrap your head around them. Another thing that I'd like to see happen, if and when I make it onto the city council, is that we find a way to convey the complexity of these issues to the people who are living here that sometimes might feel out of touch. That could take the shape, something as simple as just copying the county commissioner's podcast. I don't know if anybody listens to that. It's called Tip of the Spear. We could do another one at the city level where basically that's what I would do. There you go. There's more, but my time's up. Oh, 30 seconds? Oh, I'm going to use this 30 seconds. Thank you, Amber, for giving me this, swan song here. Don't start it yet. Here we go. Okay. So as we talk about affordable housing and we talk about taxes and we talk about all these things that are costing people money, one of the big things in the room we got to remember too is that we're also getting money as people, right? So if you're working and you're making money, you probably should want to make enough money to live here. So if we could do measures to promote better wages in Missoula, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a living wage, we could talk about that, but it also just means bring in better jobs here so we can afford the things as they invariably do go up. Thanks for the extra time.
I'm Alan Ault, Ward 4. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming, and again, thank you for hosting this. A couple of things about me, community service. I just want the public to know, I've sat on the planning board. 20 years ago, I was on one of the government study commission. I won't tell you what my recommendation was for the mayors, but I've also been a CASA volunteer. I take that very, very serious for the kids. I've been a big brother. So, I belong to different service organizations. I do a lot for the community. And the city, I love this city. We chose to move here. That's why we moved here 25 years ago. We have growing pains. We have problems. We have, the tax problem. I keep hearing that from people, door knocking, taxes, homeless, housing. But with the right group of people, those problems can be overcome. I've looked up some success stories, and I think we can do it. The key is to listen. You've heard that's why you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, so you can listen. And I think we need to do more of that, and that's healthy, and communications with the people and the constituents. So again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks. So, just over a year ago, we lost a big leader for our community. And whether you agreed with him on his policies or not, he was an amazing resource of information. I mean, he was just a one-stop shop if you had a question about something. I had a question about taxes today, and I was like, who do I call? Which person knows this really, nuanced thing? So, I think we're in a time of transition. I mean, everyone that is here that sits on council knows that it's been a hard couple of years, and I think it is important that we have some level of experience on council, and so I'm excited to continue to run for that reason. Housing obviously needs to be one of our top priorities. We've had a 48% increase in 5 years in our home prices, 62% increase in 10 years in our rental prices. I mean, no one's wages have gone up like that. So, I mean, it's just become unsustainable. Tax reform is something we have to advocate for on every single level. If there's one thing that Kalispell, Billings, Missoula, Great Falls, Helena, all of us agree on is that the tax system is broken and we need some level of reform. And honestly, I don't think the legislature is going to listen to Missoula, so we need to build these coalitions with other cities. We need other voices at the table besides ours because they kind of like to ignore us. One of my major issues, one of my major issues is I've spent most of my life in conservation, and I think that climate change is important to try to address on every single level of government. I was happy to sponsor a grant writing person for the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a misnomer. It's a stupid name for a really good climate program, federal climate program. We need to position ourselves to be competitive for that money. So I will continue to advocate in every way I can for the next 4 years to be competitive.
Okay, thank you everybody, and thank you to Missoula Downtown. Thank you to Zach. So I've been in Missoula since '99, as I previously stated, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that I was able to raise 4 children in this community from very young, and I look back to their time in school, look back to the services that they were able to participate in, be it YWCA, be it Sentinel Little League, be it youth hockey, the parks, Wapakia Parks, where my youngest learned to ride his bicycle. Now he's off on active duty with the Army. Boy, time's really flown. But, I just look at that, and, I want to have a Missoula, and part of my drive to run is to see that those folks have the same opportunities that I did when I raised my family. And, I just see that kind of sort of slipping from us a little bit. We're experiencing major growth, as everyone else here has stated, and, I think we're going to need to have big conversations. I knock on doors, we've heard about the property taxes, and I talk to people on fixed income. I talk to people that are veterans on fixed income. I spoke with a gentleman this morning. He gets $1,700 a month of Social Security. He has his home completely paid off, has for decades, and he's struggling to pay the property taxes this year. And there's going to be 9.7% again this year, and I really feel for the guy. I really do. There's folks that would like to downsize. A lady living elderly, she lost her husband, would like to downsize from her home. There's no place to downsize to. So we need to have those public-private partnerships going to get housing availability ramped up, especially at the entry-level, lower square footage housing. Support our emergency services, our police, fire, mobile support teams. Support our infrastructure. Make sure that we're doing everything to support our roads, our bridges, our utilities. We own a water company now, so we better support it. And make sure that we address the housing issue head on and make good use of our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Use TIF where appropriate to develop our infrastructure. And my time is up. Folks, I thank you all so very much. Thank you.
All right, we're almost there, everybody. Hard for us who like to move, right? Okay, thank you so much for being here, for listening to all of us speak, and for the important conversations that we're having. My mother was just recently visiting, and she turned to me, she said, she was watching the Riverwalk, and she turned to me, she said, "Everyone in Missoula holds hands." And I was thinking, like, I'd never heard that before, but I thought, what a good metaphor for Missoula. Missoula holds hands. And we are a community that really cares. And one thing that I've realized as I've been running in this campaign is that people actually are working super hard on solutions. And actually, there's tons of solutions coming out. We're kind of hearing all about the things that aren't great. There are so many good things that Missoula is doing, and as you said, leading in the state. And so one of the things that I really think needs to happen is a little better communication. We need to make sure there's a spot where people know, and my theory is we probably need to make sure every hairdresser, every child care worker, every massage therapist knows the answers, because that's the one thing I'm noticing is that there's a bunch of solutions and people don't know where to get the answers. So that's something that as a marketing director, I will make sure that we're doing a little more communication around that. The other thing that I want to say is that I know there's a lot of growth. One of my biggest concerns as somebody who grew up in Montana is this urgency to build, build, build. And I think what's happening here a little bit is that we're building homes and people who are from out of state can afford them. And I want to look at some other solutions, and I really love the co-op. Mella Bangs is a good friend of mine. We're going to look at seeing if we can make a film on that. But one of the things that I want to see is there a pause that we need to take in this community? And you were talking about people who are on fixed income. Could we come up with some strategies for people who need to maybe rent that room temporarily? I think that we aren't looking outside of the box, and one of the biggest reasons I ran is that I saw this idea for funding homeless, where you have a transaction that you have a debit card, and for every time you use that debit card, it can go to a nonprofit. And I think we could fund a lot of things outside of property taxes. Thanks.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for being here. Greatly appreciate it. I also want to thank all of the candidates, mayor and city council, for being here this evening, as well as running amazing races and amicable and kind and considerate. I think some people are even becoming friends, which is, I think, something that we would like to see more of in politics today. I think just in closing, I'd like to, reiterate my name is Sean McCoy. I'm running in Ward 6, and I also believe that we got a lot of opportunities coming up. I think we have a lot of really good things in the pike, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and jump in for city council, as much as I like and respect Sandra. I'm excited about our code reform. I'm excited about the ongoing growth policy update. Those things, after sitting on the planning board for 2-3 years and now as the chair, are exciting to me because I know how big they're going to be for this community if we can get them done right. And part of what I am hoping to do as a city council member is help us get that done to the best of our ability and not make any mistakes. And part of the leadership that I feel like I bring to that table is helping those around me rise to their highest levels so that we can all be at our best and accomplish everything we need to for the city as a whole. I'm also just excited about trying to work on the little things, right? Like along with our code reform and helping the developers and everything easier in those departments, how about making it easier to build a fence or have a homeowner put a roof on their house without having to go through too much? Nuts and bolts of shoveling roads, our sidewalks, driveways, streets, infrastructure is huge for me. So those are all things that I'm hoping to get to work on if I get selected, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, our kids get along great. So no rules for the conclusion. So I wrote down some things that I didn't want to forget to mention because sometimes I go on a little bit of a rabbit hole. I am one of the only 2 renters on city council right now, and I think that that is a very important voice. For the previous question, the first question that I don't think I nailed, I go downtown a lot, especially with a 2.5-year-old. I go to Dragon's Hollow, I go to the Carousel, the library. Actually, I was on the floor with during Mirtha's one of her public works committee, and I changed my mind on the floor regarding that awesome aquifer demonstration on the 2nd floor. I went in there thinking, that's a terrible idea. Why should we waste money on that? And then they presented, and actually it was a really good idea, and I'm really happy that I voted for it. So I'm very open to changing my mind. My father is on the right, my mother is on the left, and we always had very wonderful discussions, so I always see both sides of the road, and I'm very open to changing my mind, and my voting record does prove that. I wanted to thank the ZAC and everybody that comes here. There's an awesome clay painting thing over there. I did that a couple of weeks ago. I made a hippo that eats my wooden spoons. It's really cool. I am on the Business License Appeal Board. I'm the Vice Chair of Public Safety, Health, and Operations. I'm on the Local Emergency Planning Committee, and I'm also on the Missoula Valley Transportation Committee. I think those are very important things to have a long time standing in to get your feet underneath you. I also do trust the experts with the leadership. I trust our staff and our department heads, but I also ask clarifying questions. I actually got an email my 2nd year on council asking, why did I ask that stupid question? I stand by it. I just needed to clarify and make sure I understand before I do an important vote on it. I wanted to thank Amber because I was president of Toastmasters when I was in college, so very important job. My phone number is 529-3851. My website is sandravasecka.com. I answer all calls, even if we disagree or agree, and I will get an answer no matter how I feel about that. I've proven that. Please just respect business hours because apparently I'm not supposed to be on the phone at 10 p.m. And Sean and I are going to be on KGVO doing a forum from 8 to 9 next Wednesday if you want to hear more about Ward 6.
Oh, yeah, we're done. Okay. Yeah, we have another one of these Thursday nights, so if you hadn't had enough, City Council chambers. All right. I've been thinking about what this impressive group of people have said, and I reflect on growing up in Kalispell. And as a kid, with parents with modest means, and we lived in a good neighborhood, and I knew my neighbors, and I went to good public schools, and I watched my older brother and sister put themselves through college, and I did the same thing, and graduated here from the University of Montana, and it's been a lifetime of wanting to help make my community better. And so I jumped into the career that I have. 22 years of building community has been something that has given me such amazing gratification and drive. It is the reason that I'm standing here today and running to be your next mayor. I was asked by a number of people over the years, would you please consider running for public office because you understand the complexity and the intersectionality of so many issues. And I've spent time as a community development and housing executive understanding economic issues, serving on those boards, transit, other kinds of housing organizations, nonprofit associations, business associations. And it's because really a home is truly the hub of the spoke of so many communities, and we've heard that today. And the way I've been able to do that is building relationships across the state by building homes in communities and listening to those community needs, putting a strategy in place, and then deploying that strategy and getting the project built. In addition to the policy work I've done at the state level with the Housing Coalition, those are the kinds of tactical experiences that I believe I'll bring to the mayor's office that will be able to carry some of the challenges and the opportunities that we're talking about forward. We only have a couple seconds left, and I'm just reminded of a recent story that I was told from my office around a resident that we have at our Orchard Gardens property, and she's somebody that worked for the crime lab, and she unfortunately got into a head-on accident with a traumatic brain injury. And that opportunity for her to have an affordable rent for her and her son, and then be able to carry forward with homebuyer education and financial literacy, is changing her life. And that one example is one I want to magnify across Missoula. Thank you.
All right, I would just echo thanks everybody for being here, and I've really enjoyed hearing everybody's answers. I think it's really important to have passionate people who care running for city council and participating in the public process. I grew up here, and one of the reasons I'm running for mayor is because I worry that my kids, I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, aren't going to have the same opportunities to live and to take advantage and to work here if they want to. I've seen people that I went to high school with have to move away, even though they did everything right. Went to school, got a degree, but they can't afford to live here. Some of you have heard me say this, but the national average for home ownership is over 60%. The Montana average for home ownership is over 60%. In Missoula, it's 45%. And that is one of the major ways that anybody builds any sort of stability or financial security that protects them well into life, and it's something that we have to do better on. So this absolutely matters. But so much of our needs as a city go far beyond just housing. We've got concerns in public safety. We've got needs for a new fire department, or a new fire station that was going to be on the ballot this year, but was decided to be pulled off because of the tax situation, but that need hasn't gone away. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the fire union, who has seen my work on council and knows that I'm willing to face tough decisions, ask tough questions, bring ideas to the floor, even if they're maybe not the most popular, and work with people on both sides of the aisle to get things done. There was a question about leadership earlier, and I think it's important to have a leader that will always have differing viewpoints in the room to make decisions. And that's something I've always done in my approach to the private sector, to being a leader in the nonprofit world, to owning a small business, to operating another one, and to being on council, is to surround yourself with good people, but make sure that everybody is not just a yes man or yes woman, that there's not groupthink, that we make sure that the approach we're taking is one that values and recognizes minority opinions as well, and kind of arrives at a good decision like that. So thanks everybody for being here, and I think I speak for everybody that this was a great opportunity to hear from you all, but also let us talk a little bit, and thanks for not having any loud noisemakers with your timer.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. Round of applause. So thank you all for being here and for taking the time. We're really appreciative from the MDA. Do want to recognize a number of our board members that are also here, my peers. Thank you for coming and showing support. So we encourage all of you to continue to engage these candidates and with them and issues that matter most to you. I think ballots drop this week. You should have them by the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So please engage, please vote, please encourage others to vote, friends, family, folks in your household. That is your voice, obviously. The vote is your voice. And I think what came out overwhelmingly tonight is Missoulians care. They care about our community. There is rapid change that we're all seeing that feels a little bit uncomfortable, but also there are so many opportunities that could come of this. I can tell you from my line of work, Missoula is on the map. I just spent 4 days in Denver, and everyone is looking to invest significant amount of money into Missoula over the next 10 years, significant, things that we have not seen before. So I really appreciate all you being here. I'm very impressed with the candidates. Some of you I know, some I don't, but I look forward to getting to know you more in the future. So, on behalf of the MDA, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Your commitment to our city of Missoula, it makes it a vibrant, thriving, wonderful place to be, and Missoula Downtown in particular, being the heart of Missoula. So thanks again for coming. Good night.